Hi guys, today we're going to do some revision on Taal. So, you can read the little extract for context, but usually you can just go through the questions and answer it. Gee die korrekte samestelling van die woorde tussen hakies. Liefde plus projek. Liefde gets an S to the end when it's combined, so it's liefdes. I'm trying my best to write neatly. Skryf die getal tussen hakies as 'n woord. There we have 30, so you spell 30 like this. Vul die ontbrekende voorsetsel, so preposition. Dan luister something die stories wat sy vir hulle voorlees. So if you go to context now, so they are in a little room, Tandeka, and she's reading a story to them, and Dan is listening to the story that she's reading. So when you're listening to something, then in Afrikaans, you're listening na dit. If you're listening to someone, then you're listening vir them. So ek luister vir die juffrou, ek luister na die storie. So hier Dan luister na die stories wat sy vir hulle voorlees. Skryf die sin in die indirekte rede. Jy moet dan in jou sin gebruik. They were very, very nice to actually give you what should be added, because it can either be, remember, it can either be dat of, because dat is for a stelsin in the indirekte rede and of is for a question. So, how do I change this? Tandeka sê, I drop my colon, I drop my quotation, and I add my dat. Tandeka sê dat. Okay, Tandeka sê dat. We're changing the pronouns, remember? So Tandeka sê dat haar boekklip. We remove the verb. Enigste leesplek, I add my verb, is wat die kinders het. Full stop. Skryf die gedeelte tussen hakies in die infinitive. Remember, infinitive is omte. So, how do we do this? Remember, when you're changing something to infinitive, they're either going to give you two sentences and they say, combined with omte, then remember the first sentence remains the same. So take that same logic and apply it. The words or the bracket, that is your second sentence. And the words before the bracket is your first sentence. So the first sentence remains the same. Tandeka het in 2019 begin. And immediately after your first sentence, you add Tandeka het in 2019 begin. Then, in your second sentence, you look for the verb. Where's the verb? That's the verb. And you ignore the verb for a bit, and you write out the rest of the sentence as is. And lucky in our case, it remains the same. Vir haar neefies en hulle maatjies uit 'n boek. And you stop just before the verb. Or you write everything but the verb. So then you add te, and then you add your verb back, te lees. I'm going to do that again. Your first sentence remains the same. Tandeka het in 2019 begin. Immediately after you have your first sentence, you're going to add. Then, in your second sentence or your bracket, you look for the verb and temporarily remove the verb. Because then you're going to write everything else in your sentence in the same order as is, followed by te, and then you bring your verb that you temporarily removed back in, and then you put a full stop. As easy as that. Kies die korrekte antwoord uit die tussen hakies. Hulle het dit baie verniet en wou net meer hoor, of hulle het dit baie geniet en wou meer hoor. So verniet is when something is free, and geniet is when you're enjoying something. So, what are they? What is the correct answer? The correct answer then would be geniet. Hulle het dit baie geniet en wou net meer hoor. They enjoyed it and they wanted to listen to her more. To her stories, obviously. Skryf die sin in die verlede tyd, in the past tense. Verlede jaar besluit sy om haar leeskring uit. Okay. So I want you to think of Stompie and our verbs. The only thing that change here are the verbs. So what are our verbs? So our verb is besluit. And do we see we have an infinitive here? om haar leeskring uit te brei, that's the infinitive. So that remains the same. Nothing changes there. So the only thing that will change here is the first part, and essentially only the verb. So this verb in this sentence is the first verb, right? But now in the verlede tyd, our besluit will be our second verb. So besluit will be there. Because what happens, our verb 1 will now be our auxiliary verb het. So what do? We say verlede jaar, we take away that and we replace it with het. So verlede jaar het sy. And then we add, because remember that the verb comes before the infinitive. So then we add back our verb het sy besluit. And the infinitive het te brei. It's as easy as that. Verbind die twee sinne met die voegwoord, so conjunction. So they start the conjunction with a capital letter, so that is indicative of, they probably want you to start with it, but because they say to combine it, you could have just add aangesien there and they would have marked it correct. It didn't have to be at the beginning of the sentence. But what is important with aangesien is that, with voegwoorde, is that you need to know the sequence of events. So what happened here? Daar het so baie kinders gekom. Sy het die bure se hut as haar leeskamer ingerig. So, as a result of there being so many children, she had to use her neighbor's hut as the leeskamer. So, we would say, if you want to start with aangesien, you would say aangesien daar so, you would take out het, because het will go to your end of your sentence. So you would say aangesien daar so baie kinders gekom, and you add your het back. So I added my het back. So aangesien daar so baie kinders gekom het, then I'm going to comma, and then I'm going to put another het. So het, comma, het, because I'm going to take this het in this sentence and bring it forward. That's why it's het, comma, het. And then the rest of the sentence remains the same. Het sy die bure se hut as haar leeskamer ingerig. I'm going to say that again. You'll start with your voegwoord, aangesien. And then in your first sentence, you're going to take out your auxiliary verb het and put it towards the end of that first sentence. It will be aangesien daar so baie kinders gekom het. Then you're going to comma and take out the auxiliary verb in the second sentence, which was also het. And then you're going to start after the comma with that het. And then the rest of the sentence, of the second sentence, will remain the same. Okay. Verdeel die woord tussen hakkies in lettergrepe in syllables. So you clearly have to show the syllables with either plus or a forward slash, whatever, or even a dash, just to show that this is a lettergreep. So daar is 'n plank op 'n baksteen, and you have to change this to lettergrepe. So the easiest way to do this is to actually clap while you say it. Alright, so let's do it. Bakstene. One more time. Bakstene. How many claps did you hear? 3 claps. And when did you hear the clap? Bakstene. So that is our letter. And that is the easiest way to do it. So you're going to say bakstene. And that is your lettergreep. P. Okay. Gee die antoniem, so the opposite of the word veilige. And what is important here is context. So we know veilig. The opposite of veilig is to be safe. So the opposite of safe is dangerous. And dangerous in Afrikaans is gevaarlik. That we know. But we have to change gevaarlik to fit the context of the sentence. Because they use veilige, we can't just use gevaarlik. We have to use gevaarlike as the antonym. Or you could have just said onveilige. Gee die korrekte Afrikaans vir gangs, and dit is bendes of bendelede. 5.1.12 homoniem van die woord tussen hakkies, and that is deur. So what is homoniem? Homoniem, they sound the same and they are spelt the same, but they have a different meaning. So you have to write deur in a sentence to show that different meaning because they are spelt exactly the same. So in order to do that, you first have to understand how deur is being used in this sentence. So, deur die stories wat Tandeka vir die kinders lees, leer hulle ook van ander dinge. So, through the stories that Tandeka is reading to them, they are learning, right? So, deur there is like via, through, because of. So what other deure are there? There is a door. It's a deur, like a door you open and close. And I think that is it. So you would say, for example, my deur is gesluit. And that clearly shows the difference in the meaning. Because this one is door, that one is through or via, because of, etc. Then the last one. Gee die vergrotende trap. So trappe van vergelyking here. And they actually tell you which trap to give. So remember, I'm just going to jot it down here at the top. Sorry guys. Just going to see my steps here. There are 3 steps. We have our first step, which is our stellende trap. Then we have our vergrotende trap. And then we have our last trap, which is our oortreffende trap. So they are looking for this middle step here. And they are asking for the vergrotende trap of goed. So we know goed is the stellende trap. And this is very easy because we learned this in grade 8. Goed, beter, beste. So your answer is beter. And that is it, guys. I will see you in the next one.